Hello, welcome back with Mrs. Struble. In this video, we're going to talk about circumference. We're going to learn how to calculate the circumference of any given circle and also use that knowledge in order to find missing measures of a circle or the perimeter of a semicircle. So let's get started. Circumference. The circumference of a circle is the distance around a circle. So it's literally telling us if I had a string, how long would that string need to be in order to make it all the way around the circle? In order to calculate circumference, however, we need to talk about pi. And I'm not talking about the yummy kind either. I am talking about a ratio of the circumference to the diameter. And over the years, mathematicians have labeled this as pi. We use the Greek letter pi to represent it. So again, pi is the ratio of the circumference of any circle to the diameter of that same circle. They found it to be equivalent for absolutely every single circle. You might have heard of it before. We like to round it to 3.14. So far that we know, it's never ending, never repeating. Now you're probably asking yourself, why is Mrs. Struble getting me hungry? Well, sorry about that. But in order to understand how the circumference of any given circle is calculated, we needed to talk about pi. Since pi was found to be the equivalent of the circumference divided by the diameter, or the ratio of the circumference to the diameter, we could rearrange this formula in order to calculate the circumference. So if I multiplied both sides by d, solving for the circumference, we would find that the circumference of any circle is equal to the diameter times pi. Voila. So let's try a couple of examples with this. Here we have a picture of a frisbee. We are given the radius is equal to 5 inches. How can we utilize that in order to find the circumference? If the circumference is equal to diameter times pi, and we know the diameter is equal to the radius times 2, we could take 2 times our radius and have it be the same thing as the diameter, and then multiply that by pi. So that's what we end up doing. We're going to take the 5 and times it by 2. That gives us 10. Now for pi, we're going to use the shortened estimate, 3.14. Or not an estimate, it's a rounding, okay? So 10 times 3.14 is equal to 31.4 inches. And that is our circumference. Now circumference is a one-dimensional measurement, meaning it's just a distance, okay? So remember, it's just a distance. We only need single units for it. We don't need any units squared or anything like that. Let's do one more. Here we have a watch, okay? And it says that the diameter of this watch is 28 millimeters. We need to find the circumference. Again, using that formula, circumference is equal to the diameter times pi. Okay. Substituting in, we have the diameter is equal to 28. So everywhere we see a diameter, or d, we're going to put in, or substitute, 28. Pi is going to be substituted by 3.14, and we simply multiply. Once we multiply these two together, we get a circumference equal to 87.92 millimeters. Now let's let you give it a shot. Pause the video and try these two problems out. Now that you've tried the problems, let's talk about the answers. For the purposes of this math lesson, we're going to stick with using 3.14. Remembering that the circumference is equal to the diameter times pi, we found, or you should have found, that the circumference of this coin was equal to 12.56 centimeters. And the circumference of the pool, 14 times 3.14, was equal to 43 96 feet. Let's talk about how you would use circumference in order to find the missing measures. So let's say we're given a circle, but we know the circumference of this circle, but we need to find either the diameter or the radius. We can do so easily just by reversing the process that happened by finding the circumference. So we know the circumference is equal to the diameter times pi, and here it tells us that we used 3.14 for pi, so we're going to just simply substitute what we know. We know pi is equal to 3.14. In this case, we know the circumference is equal to 28 26. What we don't know is the diameter. We have a formula, or excuse me, we have an equation we can solve for d. Solving for d, getting it by itself, isolating it, we need to divide both sides of the equal sign by 3.14. The 3.14's cancel out on this side, and we're left with d equals 9. So the diameter here is equal to 9 inches. Now that we know the diameter, could we find the radius? Sure, you bet. We're just going to take the diameter and divide it by 2. So 9 divided by 2 gives us a radius of 4.5 inches. Pretty cool, huh? How could we use this knowledge to find the perimeter of semicircles? So in this example, we have a semicircle, and it tells us that it has a diameter of 6 meters. Now, this very well could be a window for a cathedral. And in order to frame this window, we need to calculate its perimeter. Now we have to call it the perimeter now instead of the circumference because there's a straight edge here. And as soon as we put in a straight edge, it's no longer a circumference, it's perimeter. So to find the perimeter here, let's look at the parts that we are going to need to assemble together for it. So we have this straight edge here, which they give us is equal to 6 meters. What other measurement are we going to need? Well, we're going to need this one. And that is the circumference of part of the circle. Not just part of it, it's actually the circumference of half of the circle. It's half of the circumference. So in order to calculate the perimeter for a semicircle, we're going to take the diameter plus the circumference divided by 2. The diameter here again is 6, but what's the circumference? Well, circumference is equal to diameter times pi So we're going to use substitution. The diameter is 6 and pi is 3.14. Since circumference equals the diameter times pi, I can substitute 6 for d and 3.14 for pi. Continuing this calculation, we have to do the multiplication and division here first, using our order of operations. Okay. There's a couple ways to do this. The way I like to do is, if I can get rid of that fraction, I'm going to get rid of it. Or the denominator, I'm going to get rid of it. And right here, 6 is a multiple of 2. So I can reduce those right away. And now I have 3 times 3.14, or 3 times pi. And I get 9.42. I'm going to add that to 6 to get a total. Let me rewrite it here. 9 and 42/100ths plus 6 to get a total perimeter of 15 and 42 meters. Again, perimeter is a distance. It's one-dimensional here. Okay. Wow. All right, so in this video, we talked a lot about circumference, how to calculate it given any circle, and how to use that knowledge in order to find missing measures in any circle, and even how to find the perimeter of any semicircle. Thanks for joining me in this educational video around circles. Until next time, this is Mrs. Struble with Struble Math. See ya!